Welcome back, everybody. Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast.
There you go. Good job.
Episode 4.
4.
Is it 4? It's 4, right?
Yeah. We're
Episode 4 of the new revamped podcast.
Repackaged.
Formerly No Cell Radio, if that's what you're looking for. This is Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast with Brent and Cory. Tons to get to.
Yep.
Big week. We're coming to you a day later than usual. We had a lot going on.
But a day earlier than last week.
A day earlier than last week.
Yes.
Oh, well, look at that. And, tons to get into. We are a day later because Brent was in Las Vegas.
Yes, a little hoot and toot.
He was hooting and tooting and eating cake shakes.
And boy, was I.
All kinds of fun stuff down in Vegas.
Yes.
Just so happens to be the same exact time that the first night of the draft was being held.
Yeah.
He has a couple fun stories from down there.
I do.
Chasing
let's not talk about that too much. We don't want to get in
from the end of the strip to the next. Could not find her. I don't unless there's a story he didn't tell me.
I haven't told you. Breaking news.
He did have a couple cool stories to share that we're going to get to here in a little bit.
Yep.
Before that, we got to handle all the business of usual. All the different places you can find us. Our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sponsor, Anthony.
Yes.
And I'll pass it over to Brent to run through all that.
Thank you, sir. So first and foremost, let's give a shout out to our podcasting partner, Anthony at Behind the Autograph Podcast. Great partner of ours. If you remember from a few weeks back, I was a guest on his show talking all things autographs, and we dipped our toe into the wrestling waters, and he's going to have me back this week. I'll be recording another episode with him later this week, and will be a guest on that podcast. So be on the lookout for that, Behind the Autograph Podcast on YouTube, or you can search The Autograph Cave on Facebook and find all that information as well. So again, big shout out to our partner, Anthony. You can find us now 3 different ways. We have our Instagram and our Twitter feed, both at Cheap Pops WP. You can find us now on Facebook. If you search Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast, you can email us at cheappopswrestlingpodcast@gmail.com, or find us on YouTube at Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and hit that little bell button so you get notifications when we are on and posted.
Yes, and we are back to we're going to be every week here, unless one of us goes on another trip. I will not be anytime soon.
So that'd be me.
Brent has a packed week upcoming.
Yeah, it's a good week.
I mean, well, for one of us.
Well, yeah.
And so I will not be able to make it, but Brent will be attending a NXT live show.
Yeah.
Which I'm very jealous of.
Yeah.
I believe all the big stars are going to be there.
On the commercial, they have Matt Riddle, Shayna Baszler, Velveteen Dream, I believe Adam Cole, Bianca Belair.
So, yeah.
All the bigger names will be slated to appear.
So, first off, and then we got the draft, the big draft that they're trying to make look like the NFL draft. And we got all that to get into.
I got thoughts on that.
All the roster shakeups. I'm not going to get into the feelings just quite yet. Last week, we discussed our NXT and versus AEW thing. We'll continue that. Report card, scorecard that we have going, and as far as the wars go. Pack show. And first, let's pass it over to Brent once again, because I want Brent to tell us all about this phenomenal story of meeting a couple WWE superstars.
I did.
Superstars.
Wrestlers. Let's say wrestlers.
A couple WWE wrestlers wandering around Las Vegas.
Yes. So this past weekend, I partook in some shenanigans in Sin City with my wife. It was a fun little weekend getaway. And my wife, bless her soul, knows that I'm a huge wrestling fan. And she knew very clearly that WWE was in town that night. I attempted several occasions to get her to let us go to the show.
She's a very patient woman.
Yes, she was not having any of the show. However, I did ask her, I said, okay. I said, I follow a lot of these accounts. If I happen to notice that any wrestler is at a hotel, at a casino, having fun, can we meander our way there and try to catch a glimpse? And she was very willing. I missed out on a couple guys. Braun Strowman was at a club called Hakasana, which is, I believe, at Caesar's Palace or the MGM Grand, and I did not get to see him there.
How could you miss him?
I know. Well, I didn't go into the club, so but he was apparently there and up with the DJ, going crazy. But I did meet two superstars, and again, I credit my wife for this. This is all my wife's doing. So we were staying on the far end of the Strip. We were at the Mirage Hotel, which is right across from the Venetian, the Palazzo, Harrah's, and all that. And I was trying to look at Instagram and Twitter, seeing where people were, and I was like, well, let's try Planet Hollywood, which is kind of in the middle of the Strip. And my wife, getting the gut instinct, she said, hey, the T-Mobile's arena is at the other end. She goes, I bet if they're staying somewhere, they're staying at like the MGM Grand or New York, or someplace like that. And I was reluctant, but I said, hey, fine, let's go over there. She goes, let's just go see. Worst can happen is we walk around and we don't see anything. We go back and we just keep looking. I said, okay. So we make our way to the MGM Grand Casino, which is on the complete opposite end of the Strip. We're walking through the casino. We're on the first floor. We're making our way towards the back by the lobby. So we're now approaching the lobby and the valet section, which in Vegas hotels are usually on the back end of the hotel, not the Strip side of the hotel. As we're walking through, I see two very confident looking, I'll say that, confident looking and very charismatic looking individuals in matching purple Adidas jumpsuits.
That's beautiful.
Head to toe, purple jacket, purple pants. It's got pink striping on it. And I look up and it is Montez Ford of the Street Profits and Bianca Belair.
Easily my favorite part of the story.
Yeah. They're just literally in matching head to toe gear. Two quick notes. One, Montez Ford is built like a brick house. I don't know what the camera does to make that look different.
Very skinny looking.
He is, but whatever is on his body is pure muscle. The man is rock solid. Bianca Belair, shocker, does not have that dreadlock,
the long thing?
Braided long thing in at all times. She actually has very short, shorter hair. It's not even to her shoulders, I don't think. So very interesting. But I see them, and I instantly, my jaw drops open, my eyes get wide, and I literally just, not shout out, but I look at them and I go, Montez Ford and Bianca Belair. And they both turn and look at me, and I go, not here to try to ruin your night. I know, whatever. I just want to let you know I'm big fans. I plugged our podcast. I said, my friend and I have a podcast. We talk about you guys often. We're big fans of what you do. Really happy for all the success you're having. Just wanted to let you know that. Montez actually looks at me and says, oh man, God bless you. Thank you so much. And comes up and hugs me.
Like a full hug.
Like a guy hug.
Okay.
Like the handshake, kind of clenching
I was
the...
kind of hoping he'd just double embrace you.
It was kind of like the guyish,
Gotcha.
hey. Bianca at this time walks up to my wife and goes, hi, I'm Bianca. What's your name? And introduces herself to my wife.
Wow.
And then Montez shakes my wife's hand. And they're both like, thank you so much for the support. It's so great knowing that we got fans. Well, I said, I'm not trying to take him any more time. I just want to say again, I appreciate it so much. And he's like, no, thank you for the support. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Didn't ask for a picture.
And at that point, I don't know why, I froze. I didn't ask for a picture. My wife's still sitting there like, are you not going to ask for their picture? I said, I was grinning like a child for about the next hour.
As an autograph fiend.
Yes, as an autograph fiend.
You did not get anything signed.
I didn't have anything to sign. What are they going to sign? My chest, my shirt.
Yes.
I didn't have a pen on me. I wasn't prepared for this.
Well, I love the fact that they were both very nice, cool people.
Huge shout out to Bianca Belair and if you ever want to be guest boys and girls, boy and girl, I'm starstruck right now. Montez and Bianca, open invitation. You ever want to be guests on the show?
Because you never really know what's going to happen.
No, you never know. Never know. I mean,
so
they just got done with the show.
She introduced herself as Bianca?
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, she did. And I mean, I just kudos to them. They were amazingly kind, amazingly gracious to stop and talk.
And they are married in real life.
Yes. And I mean, and you have to think to yourself, they have no obligation to talk to anybody, right? They could have just waved me off and gone away, right?
Could have ignored you.
Exactly. But to take time to stop and say hi, shake hands, show appreciation. Show appreciation. I was very impressed, very pleased. Montez Ford, Bianca Belair, it made my night to have you guys do that. I was literally on cloud 9 the whole rest of the night.
That's a very cool story.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that they were in matching jumpsuits.
It was honestly my favorite part. When I saw them in that, I was like, one, it looked like they just walked off set, because I feel like Montez could wear that on set.
Easily.
And it would easily work. So I was like...
I mean, did he seem...
He lives the gimmick almost.
Did he seem like Montez Ford, or was he like a lot more chill?
He's a lot more chill. He's that classic character of like himself turned up to 11. You know what I mean? Like, he was very polite and humble, but he has that like charm, like his grin, his smile is just a mile wide, you know? So it's like you see the shades of that gimmick in there, but like, you know, like, okay, that's not really him. Like, he's not running around with like a bedazzled cup talking about, I want the smoke. Like, you know, he's casually walking through.
It's a very cool moment, because
was.
Bianca Belair's, she's upcoming.
She's on the rise.
She's starting to get a nice little push on NXT during that next little female group that comes through. And very good. And she's very athletic and very fun to watch. Yeah. So that's cool. And then ever since, I mean, I've especially been a huge fan of Street Profits for a long time.
And they're on Raw now, so kudos to them.
Yeah, and I remember when I watched that ladder match only a couple months ago when they won their first tag titles. I remember actually texting you, like, because I hadn't watched NXT in a while. Yeah. And I was like, do you know who these Street Profits guys are? And Angelo Dawkins has been around forever. Yeah. And so, like, I'd heard his name before, but I did not know who Montez Ford was. But he is the one I consistently am so impressed with. He is awesome in the ring, and it's really strange to hear that he's rock solid. No offense, Montez. You look skinny on TV. But it's just pure muscle. Whatever's there, it's just pure muscle. Yeah. So, I mean, it's very cool to hear that they're humble and they love and enjoy the experience. Because, I mean, you know, that's what you hope from everything. Yeah. So I'm excited. The Street Profits are still advertised for the NXT event, which I don't think will be the case. Yeah. But because now they're officially on Raw. Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, you know what? Even if it's just Bianca, I might try to be like, hey, met you in Vegas. If you know, see if we remember. I mean, they've been around for like a month and a half, 2 months on Raw now. Yeah, kind of appearing like backstage. But now they're officially a part of Raw. Right. And it looks like they're finally going to get a feud. Yeah, with the OC, which is awesome. Yeah, so I'm really excited to see. Yeah, which is cool. Which, you know, we're actually going to skip to our next part, kind of, sort of. Yeah, but just because going off of like OC versus Street Profits, that's a tag team feud, a good tag team feud that doesn't involve titles. Right. Yep. Which I think is like, that's really cool to establish like your tag team division again, to have two really good teams battling for, I mean, more than just, you know, titles. I mean, that's all. If you see tag teams on Raw or whatever, it's either a filler match or it's for titles. Yep, it's great to see a different feud come into play. Yeah, and it's really two really, really good teams. Mm-hmm. Plus, you got Styles there to be like the third little buffer, kind of the mouthpiece. Yeah. And so, like, I'm really excited to see that. I guess we don't have to jump. I'll just say that. We can talk about that later. Yeah, we'll talk more about the tag team division here towards the end. Yeah, but it was a cool moment. I was happy it happened. I was unsuccessful in another attempt to meet. I attempted to meet Alexa Bliss. She hung out for an extra day in Las Vegas, and I happened to see on her Instagram story that she was at a location very near the hotel that I was currently hanging out in. A hound dog. And I made it my mission to see if I could run into her. And I know, Alexa, if you're listening, I'm going to assume that you are. I'm not a stalker. I happened to see that you were in Vegas. You were like 2 hotels away from me because you posted something that I was like, I know where that is. And I kind of got a little giddy. And I just wanted to see if I'd run into you. And so I kind of hopped around some casinos trying to see if I could find Alexa Bliss. Gross, the newest members of SmackDown Live. Off the trade. But it doesn't release what the other end of the trade was. Yeah, they did. They did? Future draft consideration. They're trying to We're not in the NFL. Like, what does that mean? What? So the next draft, whenever it is, a year from now or whatever, Raw's going to have more picks? I don't know. Why does Raw get two? Oh my gosh! Because they traded Alexa Bliss. Okay, well let's go into this next. What do you mean it doesn't make sense? This is dumb. This is just dumb. Let's talk about the draft then, shall we? Well, we can get into the draft. This is just. The SmackDown show for the draft. I thought was terrible.
It was stupid.
I thought it was a really bad.
I hated the way they set up the draft because it was just Stephanie McMahon reading the picks one by one by one by one by
really
one,
weird.
and then it'd be like a match or like a backstage interview, and then it'd be Stephanie McMahon again reading the picks one by one by one by. It was dumb.
It was really weird.
And then you'd flash to these like war rooms, which come on. Like, did you see one of the guys had face paint on in the Raw?
I did the USA.
And those are the executives?
Yeah.
What? At first, I thought it was the other guy that announces for AEW. I was like, is that the luchador guy that's on the AEW?
It was
like,
really stupid.
It was so fake and so phony. And you had like Jay Glazer there. And
it was so
freaking
stupid.
Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. And it was so dumb.
They're just doing
dumb.
They're doing too much at this point.
And the future draft what the?
It's like it is a vision of a bunch of Fox executives that don't know anything about promoting a wrestling show and a crazy 70-year-old man who is out of touch with his audience.
So is it the executives really having a say in this, like the Fox people?
I think that,
it's not Bischoff now, by the way, right? Did you see that breaking news?
Today he was, I don't know if he was fired or what happened.
As far as I'm concerned, he was replaced.
So I don't understand why.
By Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah, I love Bruce.
But why the short stint? I want to know what happened. You can't be that short on and not have something happen.
I don't know. Maybe they just realized it wasn't the fit they thought it would be.
Right.
I don't know, but he wasn't. According to backstage stuff, he was not involved in creative at all. So I don't really know. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. I'm a fan of Bruce. Pritchard, but.
I'm okay with him and Heyman running a show if they actually get to run it. Yeah,
and as far as the draft goes, the SmackDown one I thought was terrible.
Yeah,
I was bored. It sucked.
Yep.
I mean, there's no other real way to describe it.
Raw's wasn't much better.
So yesterday I was telling you how bad I thought Raw was.
Yeah,
and then I kind of looked back at it and. At least Raw had, like, the match fillers were good, like, were entertaining.
Yes.
So they had Shelton Benjamin versus Ricochet, which was kind of cool because it was kind of like old Shelton Benjamin versus the Shelton Benjamin of now.
Yeah.
Shelton Benjamin's still really good. I mean, he's
still
super athletic. He still can absolutely go. So that was a fun match to watch. The Viking Raiders versus... the only thing I didn't like was that, like, you could tell what was going to happen based upon like what the draft type stuff, like the Viking Raiders versus Rude and Ziggler, and Rude are going to SmackDown, so it kind of takes away the moment of the Viking Raiders winning their first titles. I know you've been a big fan, you've been a big like supporter. I'm starting to come aboard.
On the Viking Raiders?
The Viking Raiders. They're a lot more than I thought they were. They're super athletic. They're fun to watch. I don't know. It was okay. Like last night was okay, but this whole draft thing overall is just really... I used to like it when they each had like 7 picks, and that was it.
Yeah.
And... now it's just kind of like, this is too much.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's, I think, what took away from SmackDown is it felt like it was just too draft-centric, right? And then you were still dealing with like the whole Tyson Fury, Braun Strowman thing, the whole Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar thing, and it's just obviously just setting up to Crown Jewel.
Right.
So it's just the production of the draft itself, I think, was, like you said, I love your analogy of they're trying to make it look like the NFL draft and all that, these multiple nights and all these things. And it's not that. Like, don't make it that.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be... I want to run down the picks really quick, and I don't think these are necessarily in order. They might be. I'm trying to kind of look here. They might be, but I don't think they are.
Because McIntyre...
Yeah, it's true. Some of the picks don't even make sense. So on the Raw side... you had Seth Rollins drafted, Charlotte Flair, Andrade, for those two, the Kabuki Warriors, Rusev, Aleister Black, Cedric Alexander, Umberto Carrillo, who was on 205 Live.
I didn't even know who he was.
Who I heard reports that draft pick was because they want to groom him now. And again, it makes me wonder, well, why not Andrade? They want to make him the next like Latin superstar, which I don't know why when you have Andrade there, but whatever. Eric Rowan, Buddy. So now apparently him and Luke Harper are already done after 2 weeks.
They love doing
They've
that.
Literally done that to them like 7
they
times.
Love doing that.
Buddy Murphy, which I heard was a specific Paul Heyman pick. Jinder Mahal, R-Truth, Samoa Joe, Akira Tozawa, Shelton Benjamin, Rey Mysterio, Titus O'Neil,
who hasn't wrestled in like a year.
Yeah, Liv Morgan, who hasn't, Becky Lynch, the OC, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Ricochet, Bobby Lashley, Alexa Bliss, who's been traded to SmackDown, Kevin Owens, so you lose all that momentum from him on SmackDown, Natalya, the Viking Raiders, Nikki Cross, now on SmackDown, the Street Profits, EC3, Eric Young, and Sin Cara. Half these picks don't make sense because they haven't been on TV in 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And now you have, I'm looking at thinking like you have guys like Cesaro, Mandy Rose.
We had a bunch who aren't on anything.
Who are just free agents now.
Oh.
That's what they're considered. So the rules of this state, that anyone that's not drafted is a free agent and is allowed to sign with whatever brand they want.
Okay.
But again, if you're treating this like a true NFL draft, right? Sure, there's reaches. But you're not going to draft... Titus O'Neil would be the equivalent of like drafting like a second-string punter. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? He's not active. He doesn't do anything.
EC3, who drafted EC3?
Well, see, here's what I don't like either. So I was reading all these reports today on the draft, right? So R-Truth was drafted to USA because USA wanted to have the 24/7 title
without Carmella.
Which
is like a big part of his act.
Yes, but they wanted R-Truth, and they already had plans to move Carmella to SmackDown because of Corey Graves.
Seriously? They care about that?
Yes. And that's why you look at all these relationships. They're still together. Right? Like Andrade and Charlotte and all that.
I didn't know they actually cared about
Becky
that.
and Seth and all that. Yeah. So what I've been reading is that Carmella was sent to SmackDown because of Corey, but they wanted to keep the 24/7 title on the USA Network. So think about some of these draft picks. Eric Young, Sin Cara, EC3.
Nikki Cross and the Viking Raiders, too.
Yeah.
Well, but she was just traded.
Now she was traded, yeah. Titus O'Neil. Those are all people you see in those backstage segments chasing the 24/7 title.
I see.
But I still think it's dumb. If you're trying to make the draft legitimate, why are you wasting draft picks on those guys? Then leaving guys like Cesaro, Mandy Rose, and all these other big-time players out of the mix.
I didn't even know EC3 was on the roster until I saw that he was on the latest episode of Ride Along.
Right.
That's the only reason I knew he was still
And
there.
there's no call-ups on this either, which are typical. And I know, again, it's a third brand now. It's not a call-up. But still, NXT's not involved in this at all?
Yeah, why don't they...
The Street Profits are the only ones, technically, but they've been on Raw for the last month.
Yeah, why don't they get drafted?
Right. So then on the SmackDown side, you have Brock Lesnar, duh. The New Day, kind of a duh. Daniel Bryan, Bayley, the new Bayley. Short hair.
Which I like.
Chopping down the Bayley buddies. I was, as I watched that in my head, I was thinking, Corey's got to be just laughing.
I loved every second of it.
It's still stupid to me. She is not believable as a heel. So that's just.
I think she is. She's finally snapped.
But she's not snapped.
She's not successful.
One, the haircut sucks. I'm just going to say that straight up. The haircut sucks.
It's not that bad.
It's horrible.
It's not that bad.
It's horrible.
She cut her hair.
The Bayley buddy thing I thought was a great way to do it.
What do women do when they go crazy? They cut their hair and they start cutting stuff out.
Touche. Okay, touche. But screw you. Like, that's the best you can come up with. Might as well call us all duty heads. Like, screw you. And then she got cheered. Which typical WWE crowd. Yeah. Screw you. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great.
I don't know. She's not believable to me. Nakamura is on SmackDown. Ali, Ziggler, and Rude.
Does Nakamura come with Sami Zayn?
He was drafted separately, but drafted to SmackDown. Okay. Carmella, The Miz. So Miz is back. Miz hops around more than anybody. He jumps back and forth every draft. He was on Raw.
He was?
Yeah. He does Miz TV. Shorty Gable, which, how offensive is that? Like, that's the name that I have now. Oh, King Corbin, excuse me.
King Corbin was drafted after, who did I tell you? Ali.
Yes.
Umberto Carrillo.
Yes.
And somebody else. And it's like, this is your king of the freaking ring.
And he was like an afterthought.
And he was like a 5th round pick behind guys who I've never even heard of.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Elias is drafted to SmackDown. Roman Reigns. The Fiend, which we'll get into that. I dig that a little bit. Sasha Banks, Braun Strowman, Lacey Evans, The Revival, Lucha House Party, Heavy Machinery, Apollo Crews, Drew Gulak, Heath Slater, Tamina, and the B Team.
Who's the B Team?
The B Team.
Who is that?
Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas.
I thought they were on NXT again.
No.
God, they need to be.
You know what? That could be a good team that could that could be a part of that. Like, I could see that. Free agents. So here's what's crazy about some of this, right? Free agents of the WWE Draft. You start to wonder where they're making these decisions, right?
Matt Hardy.
Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder are currently free agents. Luke Harper, No Way Jose, our man, No Way Jose is a free agent.
None of that surprises.
Drake Maverick, Fire and Desire.
Who's that?
Fire and Desire?
Yeah.
Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
Oh, okay.
Mojo Rawley, The Iconics.
See, that one's
The Iconics were not drafted. Sarah Logan, AOP, Authors of Pain, and I think the biggest one, Cesaro.
Wait, Sarah Logan's married to somebody in the Viking Raiders, right?
Well, yeah.
Not Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross is married to Killian Dane on NXT.
Okay.
Yeah, Sarah Logan's, I think, married to Ivar.
Or whatever.
Yeah, as an Ivar or Ivar? Yeah, the long haired
beard.
guy.
Okay.
Cesaro's going to NXT. I'm just going to say that right now. That's my bold prediction.
God, I'd love that.
Cesaro's going to NXT.
I'd love that because that's when he's at his biggest.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure. I thought Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder were back already on NXT too.
No.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, they need to be.
So my thoughts here. AOP is going to be probably a Raw and come out and destroy a tag team, even though they need tag teams on SmackDown.
They do.
They have New Day and Heavy Machinery.
And the Revival.
Rude and I guess they have 4 then.
But you could use, you don't have that like monster team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So they'd probably be a SmackDown team. I'd love Cesaro to go to NXT. Dana Brooke, I don't really know.
She'd go back to NXT.
Yeah, sure. Luke Harper is such a lost freaking case. I like him. I think he's good. When he got that small little push a couple of years ago, he was pretty good with that too.
Yeah. Was he IC title? He had the IC title, I think, right?
And they just apparently don't know what to do with him.
Fire and Desire?
I'm really surprised the Iconics are not on something.
That's nuts to me.
I mean, they're entertaining.
They're so entertaining.
People people like them they like having them on their screens. So there's some interesting names there. I don't know. I wonder. Are they just gonna have these people randomly just show up, or
Well, it says here. So we're looking at Ringside News, right? As they reveal this list, and they said during Raw that free agents have 24 hours to make a decision.
Oh, so we should know.
So we should be knowing.
What happens if they don't?
Right? Are they cut?
What is it? And do they have to pick Raw?
No, they can pick whatever.
They can pick anything they want.
Yeah. That's why I think you'll see some NXT moves.
Huh.
And I would love to see Cesaro in NXT.
Absolutely.
I would absolutely love to see it.
I bet you Zayn would want to go back to NXT too.
Yeah. Sammy was no better than he was then. Yeah. That'd be really great.
He was awesome in NXT.
That'd be really great. So, again, we see some people here that could do well, but if we look at the current state,
Matt Hardy still wrestles. I thought he retired.
No, I don't think he actually does. I thought he was injured, and but they keep referring to him now again.
Well, now the Hardys are really a mess.
They're a hot mess.
Jeff's really a mess again.
Yeah.
And there was a Twitter beef between Jeff's wife and Matt's wife.
Oh boy! You gotta watch out for that.
Anyways,
but as we look at the rosters as they currently sit, so let's unfortunately forget about the free agents because we don't know where they're necessarily going. I'm gonna have you tackle Raw.
Okay.
As you look at this current list, thinking about who already kind of exists, right? I mean, this is kind of, I guess, the complete list of the roster. Are there any potential feuds that excite you, intrigue you? Any new additions that you think could bring some fresh perspective to things?
Well, so I'm confused by... So, with this draft, you have shot 2 of your main feuds dead. You got Rollins and The Fiend.
Done.
Gone.
Even though it's happening at Crown Jewel.
Has to put an abrupt...
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Doesn't Falls count anywhere?
God, they better do the right thing this time. But they're still not...
No.
They didn't do the right thing last night on Raw.
Rollins got in some beef on Twitter about that, by the way, if you saw that.
Rollins, he talks too much.
He's kind of a tool.
Wow. Anyways, here we go. I guess Seth will never be on the show. So, I mean, I would like... So, my perspective here is they are clearly running with Rollins as the main babyface, I guess. The returning Drew McIntyre, I think it shows as a first-round pick. He was picked as a first-round pick, and he's injured. He's not been on TV in a while. I think it shows that they have a big push in store for him. I love him. I think he'd be a great monster heel. So I'm intrigued by that possibility of him moving up. You still have the U.S. title there with the OC, so AJ Styles. I'm kind of confused by your lower or your mid card here. So, who does AJ Styles feud with the U.S. title? Orton?
Oh, well, it depends if you make Orton a heel.
I mean,
if you keep Orton as a heel, you have Owens, you have Ricochet,
and we just saw Ricochet versus Styles.
Right, so that one's kind of dead. So right now, Owens and Rusev.
And
Rusev's
kind of tied into this weird Bobby Lashley and angle they got going. I don't know what their plans are. Like, I don't know if they just continue to let Shelton sit there. You got Mysterio, which doesn't really excite anything. Eric Young, EC3, neither one of them ever do or win anything. Right. Your mid-card's kind of lacking to me with this group. However, I do think there's some cool feuds possible with like an Owens Ricochet I'd like to see.
Drew Ricochet, I'd enjoy that too.
Drew Ricochet, but I want Drew in that. I want Drew in that main event picture.
Yeah, or Drew Owens too. I could see Drew and Owens.
Yeah, that could be fun. I'm excited for Street Profits and OC. That's going to be a fun feud.
And that's why I think, even though I would love to see AOP on SmackDown, AOP could be really suited for Raw because that would give the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders, because they've all feuded before previously, I think. Or at least AOP feuded with the Viking Raiders, I believe.
Yes.
And you have the OC in there as a tag team, Gallows and Anderson, too, and that's 4 really solid
Honestly,
teams.
Looking at this, I think AOP has to go to Raw. They're kind of severely lacking in the tag team department.
But with also too, the female side of things.
Yeah. It's a little lacking.
You have Charlotte Flair, obviously, and that's
Becky.
really great, and Becky, but after that, I guess the Kabuki Warriors, once they get done with the tag titles, you have Asuka and Kairi Sane sitting there. But Liv Morgan hasn't been on TV in months. Natalia, I guess, is kind of a fail-safe, but she's about as entertaining as... Never mind, I don't know.
I'm bored.
Yeah, it's just she has no,
Yeah, I think they kind of are. It feels like there's more than this. I feel like there's things missing, but
yeah. Where's Sasha Banks in all this? I don't remember seeing.
She's SmackDown.
Is she SmackDown now?
Yeah, she was on there. It's just it makes you curious as to where it's going to go, especially with 3 hours of Raw. There's a lot to fill there when you don't really. So women. Lynch, Natalia, Charlotte, Zelina Vega doesn't even wrestle.
She could, though.
She could. Liv Morgan and the Kabuki Warriors. Lacey Evans, Tamina, Carmella, Sasha Banks, and Bayley are your SmackDown women. So I just don't know. I don't see where this is going. I know that I've read things that said they see Lacey Evans as a big star. Which is cool. I know that you're not big on her, but I think
Lacey Evans.
Yeah, she lives the gimmick, and I'm cool with that. But it's pretty thin. It's pretty thin as far as like who's going to challenge the champions. Alexa. So you got 7 and 7 with the trade. So I don't know if they're going to split up Alexa and Nikki Cross, what they're going to do there, but it's a lot of interesting questions as far as like. I feel like there's more people than how many does Raw get?
24 on the men's side. 24 on the men's side versus 16 on the men's side of SmackDown.
So there's only 40 men on the roster, and then like what 8-10 more free agents.
Yeah.
It seems small to me.
It does. I think. They've got to be forgetting. I don't think they have everyone accounted for.
There's no way. I don't know. I think the draft used to be a cool idea. I think this is just too much, and I think this really kind of missed its mark.
Yeah, it was. One thing, I mean, talking about the kind of the mid card, right? Like with Raw and kind of that dilemma, I would say I think the mid card in SmackDown's much more set, right? Because you look, okay, you got Brock as the champion, right? And obviously, like Roman Reigns sits at the top, The Fiend should sit at the top, Braun Strowman should sit at the top, and same with Daniel Bryan, right? But Daniel can float a little bit. Braun, I guess, can float a little bit. And then you have King Corbin, you have Elias, you have Kofi Kingston, you have The Miz, Ali. You have some really solid mid-carders that can all be vying for Nakamura's IC title around there. And that's really solid. I did hear, and again, I was reading another report, and this was kind of coming out of Dave Meltzer, that Paul Heyman specifically wanted Aleister Black, Cedric Alexander, Buddy Murphy, and Akira Tozawa on Raw because he feels like he can do something with them.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm going to give Paul credit until he proves me wrong if anyone's going to be able to turn those guys into serious mid-carders. Because if you think about it this way, right, if you kind of flip it a little bit, and let's go 3 months in advance, and let's say that they've been building Aleister Black the way they have the last 2 weeks with these kind of, he had that one match against two opponents where he like destroyed him in like a minute, and then he won his last match this last night on Raw. If you can build him, and let's just say even Cedric Alexander is a legit player, now you have two additional guys that you have kind of filling that mid-card role. Mm-hmm. So that could be very interesting. I'm much more excited about the SmackDown side, and again, it makes sense because they moved to Fox, and they want that to kind of, I guess, be more of the A show now because it's like big broadcast television. I'm very excited for what The Fiend could do on SmackDown. I do feel like his first two feuds might be a little too predictable. I feel like it's going to be Roman and Braun. That's just my gut, is that those are the first two things we're going to throw at him. But God, how great would it be to see him and Brock?
You know,
I would dig that because Brock's never had a person like that, right? Brock's always faced these like underdogs.
Well, they did,
with the exception of like Braun Strowman, you know?
Yeah.
But like the promos back and forth between like Paul Heyman and like not a Braun Strowman, a Bray Wyatt and like the Firefly Funhouse, that could be gold.
That could be cool.
That could be absolute gold.
But then he has to win.
Yes, he absolutely does. But doesn't that make it believable? Because we've had that conversation, right, when Brock won, right? Who else could fill that role of making it believable outside of Roman Reigns that he could take the title? Bray Wyatt's believable.
Yeah, they have to have The Fiend win a title.
Yes, or it's all for nothing.
He has to win something.
Yes. But I'm excited for the prospects on SmackDown because obviously Roman Reigns, easy built-in feud. Braun, easy built-in feud. You have the possibility of Brock. He could go back at Daniel Bryan if they're trying to really make Daniel Bryan a face again. He could go after Kofi Kingston in the New Day.
SmackDown has a much more, on the men's side, they have a lot more possibilities.
Yes.
And they have a lot more guys that are up enough that they can fill talent spots. Even King Corbin, who... Yeah. I mean, he can fit places.
I agree.
I really like... so The Fiend, Bray... I feel like The Fiend is being booked almost like Bray Wyatt. I did not have a problem with Bray Wyatt losing as much as he did earlier, back not now, but back when he was like the crazy weird
Hawaiian
guy.
Hawaiian shirt wearing lantern.
I didn't have a problem with that because it didn't matter if he won or lost.
Yeah,
all he cared about was destruction and mind games, and no matter what, he's still going to roll. He's still going to play that role. Yeah, this is a different beast. Like he has to look absolutely strong and as strong as it gets. I don't like already how they're booking him. Obviously Hell in the Cell was terrible. I don't like the whole burning down of the Firefly Funhouse because it makes him look weak. And it makes Seth Rollins look like some kind of freaking world beater. And I'm sorry, The Fiend has to destroy everybody for a long time.
Yes.
Before he is actually taken.
Right.
What did you see?
So I was just looking as you were talking about, thinking about people that, are kind of lost in the shuffle with this draft. But I don't want to necessarily ignore the Bray Wyatt stuff because I agree with you. He needs to have the belt at some point in time. It's a point now where, like you said, like, yes, he's about the destruction and everything, but it's also about this new persona of, like, I love how they almost talked about him. It's almost in like a supernatural sense, right? Like, he's not human, you know. Yeah. And if you're going to bill someone as that, then wins matter for someone that's not human. You can't have a person who's supernatural be mortal in that sense.
Exactly.
I did not like this whole Firefly Funhouse burning thing. And I was interested. I think Anthony, I might get into this a little bit when I'm a guest on his podcast. He has a theory about why they're doing this, why they're burning the Firefly Funhouse, that he says he wants to talk about.
Interesting.
So interesting. I'll be intrigued to hear about that.
And he'll probably be on the show next week.
Yeah. And so we can maybe address that with him as we get some more developments. But I don't necessarily know if I like, because I agree with you. It made Seth look really strong. I know they're kind of desperate to get the booze off of him, but I think they're making decisions that aren't helping.
No.
They're just booing him more. I don't know if you heard, but there was a dark match after Raw went off the air last night with him and Bray Wyatt, and guess what it ended in?
Just go off game.
Yep. And guess what happened?
He got booed.
He got booed out of the building.
See, here's the thing. Like, the dark matches, like, they've done that forever, where, like, the big, bad guy at the end who looks strong and tall at the end of Raw, then runs down for a dark match, gets beat, everybody goes home happy. But nobody knows it except for the people in the building. So it doesn't matter.
But why waste Bray Wyatt in that situation?
I don't know.
And why do a finish that you know everyone's going to hate?
But the dark matches don't bother me. I don't like I just don't like overall how he's being used right now. I think it's making him look weak, and I think what they're trying to do is make Seth obviously look strong and cool in this.
Yeah.
I think it's another reason that The Fiend was drafted to SmackDown, was to get him away from Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this isn't working. We need to get them away from each other.
Right.
It's and all it's doing is the more we do this stuff against the Fiend with Rollins, the more he's getting booed. So we just got to get him out of here.
Yep.
I think that's kind of what the thought process behind that is. I am seeing unlisted in draft pools list here.
Yeah.
So like Sheamus, he might be done.
Right, and that's what's interesting as you look at this list. So I love this. This is on CBS Sports. The list of undrafted men: Cesaro, Luke Harper, Apollo Crews, Mojo Rawley, No Way Jose. So you have that, and Drake Maverick. Undrafted women: Dana Brooke, The Iconic, Sarah Logan, Fire and Desire. Undrafted tag teams: AOP, Kurt Hawkins, and Ryder. And if you look here, there is serious help needed on the Raw tag team side because they only have 3 legit tag teams, really, and SmackDown's at 6.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
So they need AOP, and I'd actually say they need Hawkins and Ryder.
They need both of them.
And then unlisted in draft pools, and this is what's interesting. The Usos were not listed.
The Usos are the team that should go to Raw, too.
They should go to Raw as well. Jeff and Matt Hardy, who you just talked about, have their issues. Sheamus, who might not ever get to wrestle again. Leo Rush.
He's pretty safely on
NXT. Naomi, who's kind of taken a hiatus along with her husband. Lars Sullivan, who, again, we don't know. Lana. Mike and Maria Kanellis. But I'm hearing those reports that he asked for his release.
She didn't.
She said that he didn't. He put out a statement that he did.
Big thing that he did.
I don't think they talk. I don't get it.
Apparently not.
Nia Jax.
That's an interesting one.
Mickey James.
Well, she's hurt too. So she'll be back in January. Though.
Ruby Riott, who's hurt. Alicia Fox. The Ascension and the Colognes. 2 additional tag teams.
The Colognes haven't been on TV in probably 2 years.
But with Raw, I mean, you know what I mean?
I think the last time I heard of the Cologne guy was on Talking Shop. On Talking Shop.
It might have been, yeah.
I don't think he's been on there.
But we referenced the Ascension like a few weeks ago, didn't we?
We did, and I don't think. I mean, maybe that's another. I think we even said they should go back to NXT or something.
So what happens to these people? That's what I want to know. If they don't pick, or they're unlisted, like what happens to them?
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
But there's obviously talent here that could fill needs.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I mean, the Usos and the Ascension alone could make the Raw tag team division
Naomi can easily
much better.
Into a women's division.
Yep. On either side, I feel like SmackDown might need a little bit more, even though they have Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Tamina does really nothing. Carmella's not bad, and Lacey Evans isn't bad either. But I feel like the Raw women's side has better workers in Lynch, Flair, Natalya, and the Kabuki Warriors. Those right there are enough to sustain some feuds.
Sure.
But you could throw Nia Jax in there later.
Yeah, maybe one in each. Naomi goes to one, Nia Jax goes to one.
And I mean, you still have, again, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce could fill the singles void and the tag team void as well. I would love to see the Iconics go up against Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss.
So what's going to happen here? Is King Velasquez going to win the WWE title?
Again, it's like the Bray Wyatt situation, right? You're going to bring him in as the hero for Rey Mysterio, and you're going to what? Have him lose?
He's going to win the WWE title.
You backed yourself into it. I think about it all the time when we talk about Bray Wyatt. You said it after Hell in a Cell, right? WWE backed themselves into a booking corner, right? Yeah. You're doing the exact same thing with Cain Velasquez.
Yeah.
Because you can't. I'm telling you right now, he's going to lose. He's going to lose. Brock Lesnar will win.
I don't think he
because Fox isn't going to let them take the strap off Brock Lesnar.
That's true. Well, but Cain Velasquez, who knows? Well, he's also hobbling all over the place.
Right, but he's had that brace for a while. I watched an old clip of him. One, he used to wear a mask, and two, he's had that brace since he started wrestling.
Well, that brace was, or that clip wasn't that long ago.
Right, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not some recent injury. I thought it was like something new. You know, like he's had it for a little while.
Okay, well, so, and then my other problem is this Tyson Fury Braun Strowman thing.
Did you hear the payday Fury's going to get for doing this?
I did, but I doubt it's just the one match.
If it is, that's insane.
I highly doubt it's just the one.
$15 million.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
I heard they paid Mayweather $20.
Yeah.
And Mayweather was a much bigger name.
Do you think Kane's getting around the same amount? Velasquez?
No
you don't
way.
think so?
No way. No way.
Is he going to be a regular part of WWE programming now, do you think? Like, is he going to be a WWE wrestler?
I think he could.
Because I heard he's trying to make this legit. Like, he wants to be a wrestler now.
Well, I don't
like,
know if he's going to be
that
full-time yet.
But, like, he'll stick around WWE. Like,
yeah, I think so.
You don't see him going to AEW or
so.
something like that. Like, he'll be a WWE guy.
Yeah, I think he's a contracted guy. Tyson Fury is like a... I don't think he's a one-off, but I think that...
Well, he has a boxing match in February.
I actually find him really entertaining.
Oh, he's charismatic.
I don't like the idea because he's going to beat Braun Strowman. I think it's stupid.
Why? I don't get. They love their part timers. They love these like one-off guys coming in and being victorious.
They're trying to draw viewership. I mean, I get it, but
it's also in Saudi Arabia, and it's like
boxing,
and it starts. The start time is like 7 a.m. West Coast. Like it's like who's going to get up and watch that
on Halloween?
Yeah, like the viewership's going to struggle already.
I don't know. I don't really understand it either, but it is what it is. So I hope that... I know Kane is pretty good. He's shown some pretty good things.
Yeah.
As far as a full match goes, I don't know, but...
It's got to be a short one. I'm assuming it's going to be like no more than 10 minutes.
I
more.
would think so.
Don't make it like a 2-minute one either, though. It's got to be... I'd say like 5 to 7 might be the sweet spot for those two.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Goldberg.
Yep.
Goldberg.
Like maybe a quick takedown by Velasquez, quick attempt at a pin, gets the 2 count. Brock's kind of shocked. They grapple and roll around for a few minutes. Brock finally hits a couple suplexes, a quick F5, match done.
He's not going to win.
I'm saying he's going to win. I don't see how Fox is going to let them take the strap off him already.
I'm just telling you.
They wanted him on Fox for a reason. They wanted Brock Lesnar's name on there.
Yeah, I'm just telling you.
I mean, hey, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Put a little side bet maybe on this?
So...
a little podcast side bet?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. So, with that, we've bashed the draft enough.
Yes.
We'll move on to our weekly scorecard.
Let's bash more. Let's
Our weekly scorecard of NXT versus AEW. We are on week...
This will be week 3.
This will be week 3.
This will be week 3.
So, NXT, in our humble opinions,
yes,
easily won week 1.
Yeah.
Week 2... Did we do a week 2 scorecard?
We vaguely talked about it. We talked about the viewership of AEW versus NXT.
But we
thought that NXT still had a good show. that we thought it was still a really solid show all around.
Okay, so to recap. I have it as 1-1. I thought AEW probably won week 2.
Yeah.
So week 3, or week 4 or 5 of NXT is going to blow it out of the water. There's some really good stuff coming up
on NXT.
Yeah.
So we just pulled up the card. You have Tommaso Ciampa going up against Angel Garza, which again, it's always fine to have a return match kind of be against a jobber. Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest, that'll be great. Tegan Knox returns. Keith Lee versus Dominic Djokovic.
Two big brutes.
Those guys put on, what was it? Was it the first episode of NXT that was live? Or was they put on a great match.
Yeah.
Their match was amazing. So you got some good quality matches, and obviously you still have like the Undisputed Era and all there and everything.
And then a couple weeks you have Velveteen versus
Roderick Strong.
Yeah, the rematch.
But I have a question for you, because we've been talking about NXT versus AEW, but I think we have to start incorporating all of WWE into this war, right? Because I think we made it very clear AEW has kind of declared war. Chris Jericho gave a scathing promo
I don't think you did.
Last week when they did the whole Inner Circle thing.
Yes.
And when they introduced Jake Hager and everyone started chanting "We the People," and he was like, that was a stupid idea from a stupid creative team and it's dead, so shut up.
Yeah.
Like, he went right at WWE. Viewership for WWE has been down. SmackDown's show this past week was 1 million viewers less than it was last week. Raw lost viewership this week, and AEW continues to gain viewership. Mm-hmm. So my question is, does WWE have a legit problem on its hands? Like, I know we can look at just NXT versus AEW, but what's going on with the WWE product that is turning people away from that and continually having them gravitate towards AEW? Is it just that AEW is new and fresh, or is there something WWE should be looking at to actually make their product better?
Well, I think it's definitely has something to do with it being new and fresh. I think that having Jericho be the lead of your whole thing is a big bonus. I don't necessarily think I don't like comparing AEW and the other two brands of WWE because I just don't. I think it's too complete. I think it's freaking oil and vinegar.
Yeah.
I think that it's two completely different products.
It is.
I think that NXT is a lot more similar to AEW.
Yes.
So I think those are fair. As far as viewership goes, AEW is winning. I think that is a new and a fresh thing. I think that's kind of a little bit of a backlash towards WWE because watching NXT again this week, God, it was pretty damn good again. I mean, you had your Leo Rush versus Gulak, which was outstanding.
That was a really good match.
And then you introduce your Rhea Ripley's, who's a freak of nature.
Oh, she's good.
And I'd love to see her be the one who takes
Baszler's
finally out. You're building up your Forgotten Sons because they destroyed the Breezango.
Yep.
And I like the Forgotten Sons. I think they're kind of an underrated tag team, and they need tag teams to be built up to kind of take on that Undisputed Era.
Yep.
Cameron Grimes.
I like that dude.
We'll see what happens. He looks like he might get his first view, or his first potential feud. I don't know if Killian Dane coming out and just attacking that other guy had anything to do with Grimes, but or Killian Dane's just a freak. He just likes destroying things,
right?
So we'll see. I don't know what that was about. However, the one I want to talk about is Roderick Strong versus Isaiah Swerve Scott.
Tacoma, or former, spent time on McCord Air Force Base. His dad was in the military.
Really? I didn't know that.
So he actually is billed, when he was introduced, he was billed from Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Swerve, come on the show, man.
I did not hear
local
that.
Kid. Yeah.
So I'll say, but the cool part was, there's a lot going on there. in that segment. You got Dream popping up, and you got then Ciampa popping up.
Yep.
And Strong, wins the match, obviously. But this Isaiah Swerve, I don't want it to be, it shouldn't be like overlooked at how good he looked.
Yeah.
Wrestling and going against Roderick Strong. They meshed really well.
Yep.
He told a really good story of like the underdog, but he's not quite ready.
Right.
That kind of story. I was really impressed with him, and I think it's a cool little. I think it's even cooler that he's from Tacoma, but I think that was a really good setup for him to kind of build in the future.
Yeah.
Dream, I think Velveteen Dream is so fascinating. Every time I see him more and more, I think he's just more and more fascinating.
Yeah.
He's hard to look away from.
Yeah.
And he's just he's such a star. He is such a star. And then Tommaso Ciampa is another guy who plays his role absolutely perfectly, and he's a star too because everybody knows how he's called. He called Goldie. He called the title belt Goldie, and all he goes down. All he says is Goldie, Daddy's home.
Yeah, I love that.
That's good. That is great. That's a perfect example of a promo doesn't have to be 10 minutes long. You can get your point across and still be super awesome and cool by saying 5-6 words.
Yep.
Bianca Belair, a new favorite of the show.
Yep.
She was on there, kind of building her towards the female thing, and then the other thing I want to talk about was the main event.
Walter versus Kushida.
Neither of which, I knew who Walter was. He doesn't look all that impressive. So,
looks like a blob.
Yeah, I didn't really know a whole lot about him.
Yeah.
I love the ring general gimmick that he's got. Excuse me. And Kushida they told this really good story of undefeated.
Yep.
They kept Kushida looking really strong, despite he ended up taking the loss. But man, it was good. That was a great match, and Walter really, really impressed me. It's a big lariat finish. I think he's as I'm watching it, I'm like, who is this guy? Because I don't understand why he's such a big deal. But at the end of the match, I was like, okay, this dude's a stud, and it's obvious why he will remain like one of the most protected people in NXT, because he should be.
Yep.
And he just delivers match after match. He was great against Pete Dunne. I remember that match too.
Yeah.
And he just keeps delivering, and he has a cool ring general type gimmick. I love it. I thoroughly enjoyed NXT this week.
Yeah, it's so sad that W doesn't realize what let me rephrase that. I don't think Vince realizes what he has in terms of NXT.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on the Swerve Scott thing. And what I love about it is, like you said, right? It was a really good story of the guy's not quite ready yet, right? But they also let the story play out where you could tell people were taking notice, right? To me, one of the biggest things of that was when they had the Undisputed Era come down to try to help Roderick Strong, right? That's an element of a story that says, hey, this guy threatens us, right?
Yeah.
And I love that, even though he didn't get the victory, right? Which he shouldn't. Roderick Strong needs to win that. But it was this cool moment of hey, we're taking notice that you could be a player later on down the line.
Right.
And so I agree with you. It was a really, really well-told story that still had both guys looking strong. I will say, I'm a fan of Roderick Strong. I didn't really watch him that much before NXT, and I've only seen a little bit here and there, and I just kind of assumed he was the lackey of the Undisputed Era, because I know he's kind of a throw-in, right, because Bobby Fish got injured, and then they put in Roderick Strong to tag with Kyle O'Reilly.
Right.
As a filler. But Roderick is talented.
Well, I've heard his name a bunch before he got to NXT.
He's really, really talented.
I mean, that group, and there's so many people that I don't know who they are, but they're one guy preaches he's a dirt sheet guy, but and he has sources, and he hates everything NXT does because they push these guys that are little and all this kind of other stuff, which is just stupid. I mean, because I agree I think that like one thing that I really enjoyed about AEW is I really, really liked the Inner Circle. I like that. I like that group.
Yeah.
I like the name. I like who's in it. I think Jericho is as good now as he's been in a long time.
Yeah.
He's still great. Like when he's, I don't know if you watched until the very end, but when he's yelling that, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Like he's just on fire right now.
Yeah. And the Guerva, or Sammy Guevara is going to be good. And Darby Allin impressed me a lot.
With the skateboard thing?
Have you seen his finisher, that coffin drop?
Yeah, I saw it.
It might be one of the coolest things I think I've seen in a long time.
I'm not fully sold on him yet.
I like that move, though. That coffin drop is a really cool move to see.
I really like kind of like the dynamics they have going. I thought the tag match to open was really good. Dustin Rhodes, Goldust, at 50 years old, is still outstanding.
Oh, he's legit.
I mean, he is still so good.
Yeah. That private party that opened was really solid, too.
Yeah. I mean, all that was really good stuff.
Here's one thing that I don't like about it, though. And this is a small nitpicky thing, and I'm specifically thinking of that tag match that kicked off that show. The Young Bucks were like interfering every 5 seconds. It was like double team, no tag, and the ref just sat there, and I'm like, the ref has to play a role. Like at some point, the ref has to play a role. You can't just let a team continually double team and jump in and out. Like there were times where they were like just entering into the ring and just hitting a move on the guy and then sliding back out, and the ref was just looking at him. It's like at some point you have to be a referee. Like I know you're there to essentially call spots and like help progress the match, but like you're on TV roles that you're a referee. You're supposed to be helping keep things orderly. Do your job at some point. And I didn't like that. That's very nitpicky, but I felt like AEW was taking a lot of leeway in the tag team like style of that, of like we can kind of jump in and out as we please, and tags aren't necessarily like as important.
Well, and something that I found myself noticing, and that I didn't really think that. Now I'm going to go back to this. I'm with you. I thought Kenny Omega was a lot cooler this week. He looked a lot cooler with the whole taking out weapons, throwing one of the weapons to. God, what's his name? He threw a weapon to Moxley.
Yeah.
And we're like, he was like, you know, who's going to be, like, he brought out two weapons covered in barbed wire and threw one to Moxley and said, let's go.
Yeah.
And then he was attacked by, I don't know who it was, but he was attacked by somebody from behind that kind of broke it up. But I thought he looked a lot cooler. I'm with you on the Young Bucks, though.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't see it. I don't get it. It's a lot of. I don't like the. And we said kind of this last week. I don't like all the freaking super kicks.
Yep.
It's just I don't really understand it. But
they're like a low budget Hardys.
Well then,
tell me I'm wrong though.
Yeah.
Like they're like what the Hardys were when they were first starting out.
Yeah.
But they've been in the business now 15 years. The Young Bucks.
Yeah. And they've made a lot of money off of whatever their gimmick is.
I don't know.
I liked, Havoc and Darby Allin was cool. I like that.
Havoc's interesting. I've only seen him a handful of times. He's an interesting dude.
I think where they're really lacking is the women's division right now.
Yeah, you don't have. I mean, it's hard because obviously, unfortunately, women in the indie scene aren't as like prominent, right? So like, there's guys, right? Like Darby Allin has a small name on the indie scene. Guevara. Hager, Omega, obviously the Young Bucks, Rhodes, and like the women don't have the same level of notoriety on the indie scene. So you're literally building that division from the ground up.
It was Pac, by the way, who attacked.
Omega. Yeah. And which again is another established star.
He is awesome.
His heel persona is great. His heel persona is great.
He is so good. And so, like...
He was out on commentary, wasn't he, for a period of time, too, in the last episode? I think he did commentary.
Yeah, that's where he came off of the commentary thing and attacked him. I loved the tag match. The end tag match with Jericho and Guevara versus Page and Rhodes, I thought was outstanding.
Yep.
Moxley and Sean Spears is another match that was pretty cool to me. It was a good match. I also enjoy the realness they try to give to their show, like the real time limits. Like they announce 10 minutes in and like stuff like that. That stuff's kind of cool to me. It doesn't insult you as a fan. I also enjoy the win-loss. I don't know how it works as far as
record.
I don't know how it works like as far as tag team matches go, but like wins and losses matter if you want to get a tag or if you want to get a title shot, which I think is super interesting because I found myself in the middle of it after seeing the win-loss record next to Sean Spears and next to Moxley. I found myself halfway through the tag match going, so how does this work? Does Rhodes take the pin so he gets the loss? Or how is this going to affect like the title picture?
It's another wrinkle.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting.
Yeah.
And it's not just like you don't get to get title matches because you decided to walk out on stage.
Right. And look at like, for example, even though we're not high on the Young Bucks, I believe now are 0-3.
Right. And
which shows they're not about just promoting themselves. You know, they're kind of like, this was kind of Cody Rhodes, Omega, and their baby, right? Like they're very willing to take pins and build up, which you need, right? You have the Young Bucks as kind of your centerpiece, but this Private Party was a great tag team, and you have some other teams that can kind of be a part of this division, and you're allowing them the opportunity to build them up.
Well, another one is Kenny Omega won a match.
I don't know if he has.
I don't think he's won.
Right, so I like that. And I like seeing that. You're right. I love when they come out that they'll see, and I think like with Jericho, I think it had a singles record and then a tag team record.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's multiple.
Because Jericho's won and Cody's won.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think Kenny Omega's won yet.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. That's a fun little wrinkle that adds like a real sports style adventure to it, right? And almost like quarters in a game, right? Like I love hearing that there's 10 minutes remaining in this match because there's also that's another element for the commentators to even talk about, right? Is it going to end in a draw? What's going to happen as we get closer? It gives them another element to kind of build tension towards. It's another element of the story that you can look at. Right, I mean, think of how many last-second finishes you could have, right before the time limit's up.
I love
which will add to the drama of those things. Right, when you don't know what the time limit is, you never know when that stuff's going to come. But if you know there's a minute left, you can add in that desperation element to the booking of the match that kind of creates some nuance to what we've seen, kind of normally.
And I lied. He's 2-3, but still
losing record. Still losing record.
Losing record. I think that I wish that I don't know if maybe their website does this, but I wish they'd do like a running tally on their website.
Like a standings?
Something like that. I don't, and maybe they do have that, I'm not sure, but I think that'd be a cool little wrinkle to add. I really, really, really enjoyed AEW too.
Yeah.
And I was texting my girlfriend who could care less about wrestling. I was texting her about how my Wednesday night I've spent 4 consecutive hours watching wrestling.
Yes.
And I don't think I've ever done that other than a pay-per-view.
Yeah. I look forward to Wednesdays.
I watched 4 straight hours of wrestling with NXT and AEW and was thoroughly entertained by both. Yeah. So I almost feel bad about picking a winner this week.
Right.
Because I really enjoyed both shows.
But you have to, because that's the game.
I do have to.
You have to, because that's the game. So we're at what, 1-1? Is it 1-1?
1-1 for me. I didn't know what you picked.
I would probably say 1-1 as well.
It's just so hard because
I know
NXT match quality was so great, and I loved the build. I loved Ciampa's return. I loved the main event. AEW though had the great main event with great build at the end. Darby Allin got one over at the end. Oh God, that's tough.
I'm going to give it to AEW for week 3, only because, like you said, I loved the main event. I actually did like the first match. The opening match was really solid too.
Yeah,
Darby Allin was cool. The Omega moment was cool, and I really liked and maybe this is, I love Chris Jericho. Like, the promo he gave introducing the Inner Circle was great. It was great. And that tipped it over the edge for me, because match for match, I would say that, like, Kushida and Walter were solid. Lio Rush and Gulak were solid. Like, there wasn't bad matches in NXT, but they don't focus on promo stuff as much as like an AEW or even a Raw SmackDown does. And so they're building. And so that's what tips it over for me. Slightly. I'd love to call it a draw and say they're 1-1-1, but I'm gonna pick definitively and say I'm gonna give it to AEW for week 3.
Okay. God, it's tough. It's really hard not to pick when that Walter match was so good. Yeah. It's hard not to pick it, and it's hard not to pick Lio Rush and Gulak.
Which was a great really moment, too, yeah.
And it's really hard because I love that Ciampa moment, and I love the Velveteen Dream, and I loved freaking Swerve. God, it's tough.
Then pick it. Well, we can.
But I really, really enjoyed AEW.
So do you want to say it's 1-1-1? You want to give it a draw?
I'm going to go draw.
Like an AEW record. It's a draw. 1-1-1.
No, I take it back. I'm picking AEW.
Are you? Oh, so currently AEW is in the lead.
Yeah, AEW leads 2-1.
2-1 in the Wednesday Night Wars.
Tomorrow night we'll have another.
Tomorrow night it'll be interesting.
I'm going to take full-fledged notes.
Yeah. You know, I've been proud of you. You've been taking notes. Like, you've been like really analyzing things.
I really love the wrestler booking mentality of these two shows.
Oh yeah.
Like, even though Triple H isn't active, it is clear that he has such a hand.
Yeah.
And but the booking of AEW is falling solely on wrestlers involved in the show.
Billy Gunn's an agent there, and I think Dean Malenko is too.
Agents, which help you figure out the match.
Right.
They don't book it.
They're not booking. It's just like Cody and those guys.
As far as I know, I'm not positive on this, so don't freaking...
Right.
Don't burn me at the stake if I'm wrong. Yeah. But as far as I'm aware, it's Cody, Bucks, and I don't even know if Omega has anything to do with it.
They're the ones booking.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos. Like, if it is that, like,
I think maybe Tony Khan has a little bit of a hand.
I don't know. I think I've heard in interviews he tries to stay away from that. He knows where he excels and where he doesn't. I know he's eager to learn the business. He's excited about learning the business, but I don't know if he fully dips his toe into that water. So,
yeah, I think they might be all the money.
Yeah,
the cons are the money.
Yeah. So 2-1 currently AEW, and on that note, that is going to wrap up another episode.
I'd really like to know definitively. Maybe Jericho has a hand in it. I don't know.
Oh, I feel like he has to.
I'd love to know.
Jericho, put us on your podcast. We'll talk about that.
How long until this gets so low ratings-wise that they go to their latest Fox signing and say, hey, I'll write you a check right now if you show up on Monday, Mr. CM Punk?
I think they're getting there. Because it's pretty bad. You lost 1 million viewers in 1 week.
Like, I think that is like a real legit.
And he's working some WWE show.
Yeah, I mean, he is working for Fox, working WWE.
So the inroads are there.
I just don't see it lasting very much longer with him sitting there.
No. And God, I can't wait.
I don't know what he'd be interested in doing, but I can't help but feel like with him now poking around when he wouldn't even sniff about it.
He's poking.
For the longest time. Now all of a sudden, maybe he's run out of money, I don't know, but now all of a sudden, oh, I'm not mad at WWE. Yeah. I'm over that, blah, 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 I moved on.
Oh.
Now he's hosting this show. I just can't help but think that, like...
Him and The Fiend. Oh.
Somebody's going to show up.
Sign me
Just
up.
think about his music hitting.
Oh.
The pop that it would sing.
Oh, my gosh.
When's the next time they're in Chicago?
I don't know. AEW loves them from Chicago. AEW's in Illinois a lot.
Oh, see, they like their wrestling classic wrestling towns.
They almost have this like Mid-South feel to where they
they're
go.
very.
It's like territorial. It's like they've stuck around the East Coast a lot.
A lot of people like to poo-poo on them because the new thing. I'm pretty impressed with them so far.
Kudos.
Especially because other than Jericho and Cody and some of those guys, I'm kind of learning about all of these guys.
But they're doing it in the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely picked the right bell cow to lead that charge.
Oh, yeah. He's adapting his own. Like, to this week, he's going to be the Painmaker. He
is the man.
So he has like an alter ego to his persona. Like, it's great.
I mean, he is. You know, I've always known Jericho was really good, but the last like 5 to 6 years to me cemented him as one of the greats of all time.
Yeah,
like he is so good, and still to this day. Like, I don't know who... I read somewhere, like, he put a thing on Twitter that said, like, these guys said I have lost a step and all this different stuff. I don't see it.
Nope.
I mean, I still think he's as good as ever in the ring. And on the mic, God, he's fire.
It's great. You know, I got a topic for an upcoming show. Our wrestling Mount Rushmore.
Again? Didn't we?
I don't think we did Mount Rushmore.
I thought we did.
Did we? That was in the old... that was old
That was
stuff.
No Cell Radio.
That was No Cell Radio. Or maybe even Holler If You Hear Me. That might have gone back that far.
We could do it. We could do a Mount Rushmore.
Because we got to see if Jericho's on a Mount Rushmore.
And are we basing it on what, though? I think this was the argument last time.
So we got to come up with definitive criteria.
Like, are we talking about who sold the most? Are we talking about who made the most money? Are we talking about best in-ring guys?
Yep.
I mean, there's so many...
We'll have to lay down some criteria. If you got comments, comment on our YouTube page. Yeah. Let us know what criteria we should do for our Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, because it's...
Let the people help decide.
It is tough. Like, you hear all those things. Like, you hear all the... I listen to these podcasts, and they ask, like, Bruce Pritchard and those guys, like, what's your Mount Rushmore? And then they just, like, I don't...
It's so hard to pick.
I have no idea.
It is so hard to pick.
It is, but I think I already know my one guaranteed spot.
I know. And you know my one guaranteed spot.
Yeah.
Alrighty. That's going to do it, bud. Another episode in the books.
All right, episode 4 is
episode 4.
About to be put in the can and sent out to the world.
Yes. Make sure, again, check us out on YouTube at Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Cheap Pops WP. Facebook, search Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast. And, again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that you also check out our wonderful partner. I will be a guest on his show again this week. He will be a guest on our show upcoming. Anthony at Behind the Autograph Podcast on YouTube, or search The Autograph Cave on Facebook.
I'm really curious to hear his Fiend theory.
Yeah, we're going to be, I can't wait to talk to him about it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good. So, again, thank you again as always, Corey. It's always a pleasure.
Did I ever tell you I had the chance to interview Chris Jericho?
Wait. You're going to say this now at the end?
Well, I didn't get to do it. And this other guy, because it's when I worked for that college radio station.
Yeah.
And I had the morning shift. And it was 6 to 9 was my show.
Oh, I think you do. I think I remember you telling me that.
6 to 9 was my show. And the program guy came in and was like, hey, this new band, or well, not new, but this band Fozzy that we've been playing a lot of. And I was like, yeah. They're like, their lead singer's calling in, and we're going to do an interview. And I was like, what? and I was like Chris Jericho? And she was like, oh, yeah, like Chris Jericho.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
He's going to call in about 10. And I go, 10? I was like, is there any way...
You could bump that up an hour and a half.
She was like, well, I'm not going to ask him to bump it up. Like, he's doing a bunch of interviews. And so the second guy got to do it, the show after me, and God, he was horrible. I was sitting in the studio, and I was like...
angry.
I was just sitting on the other side of the studio, and I almost grabbed the mic.
Did you almost cowboy the interview?
It was terrible. It was so bad. It was like...
great.
I could hear it in Jericho's voice. Like, he just wanted to, like... You stupid idiot. Like,
that is awesome.
It was terrible. I was like, why wouldn't you let somebody who had any idea about, like, everything he's done... Like, I understand he wants to talk music. That's fine. But they also said, like, his agent was like, we were asking, like, criteria of things we can and can't ask. And he was like, well, yeah, they want to talk. He wants to talk like music and the new music coming out, blah blah blah. He's like, but if you want to, like, he's open to answering anything. And I was like, oh my god, this could have been so much fun.
Yes,
like he's like, because I've seen him on like other radio shows, like real radio shows, like. And he's super funny.
Yeah.
And
you could have been a part of the first Talking Shop. Like the first Chris Jericho version of Talking Shop.
It was such a sad missed opportunity.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, God.
Horrible.
So, Jericho, if you want to give me another shot.
Hey, there you go. We could be the official podcast for AEW.
Fun little story.
That was a great story. How did you not share that with the masses earlier? That is amazing. All right, well, on that amazingly fun story...
I tried to wipe it out of my brain that I missed it.
That's going to be it. For Cory, I'm Brent, and we will see you next time. This has been an official broadcast of the Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast Station. Find us on Instagram at Cheap Pops WP, Facebook, search Cheap Pops Wrestling Podcast, and Twitter at Cheap Pops WP. Cheap Pops!